Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Dinner will be served shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Dinner is being served. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Dinner is being served. Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seats. Dinner is being served. Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seats. Our program and dinner will begin shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seats. Our program is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the screen. Our program is about to begin.
Those who are in favor will say yes. Those who are against will say no.
Soviet Union, yes. The United States, yes.
The resolution of the DUC Committee for Palestine was adopted by 33 votes, 13 against, 10 abstentions.
When we were first established, it was in order to reestablish the state of Israel.
We are advocates. We are unafraid to take forceful positions, to call out wrongdoing when we see it, and we're unapologetic about it.
Well, of course, this is utter nonsense. We're not going to allow your threats of murdering people. This tells you their real intentions. Truth is not a political position.
The Center for Law and Justice is the legal arm of the ZOA.
The ZOA Center for Law and Justice led the fight to finally have Jews included under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act.
We filed a groundbreaking case back in 2004 against the University of California at Irvine to protect Jewish students on that campus. It was the first case of anti-Semitism that the federal government ever agreed to investigate.
Until we had this reinterpreted, it was primarily African Americans and Hispanics and such who were covered by this law protecting those people from harassment and discrimination. Now Jews are covered under harassment and discrimination.
Our government relations department works with members of Congress to advise, educate, and keep them apprised of all of the issues relating to Israel.
We have full-time professionals who meets with members of Congress or their staffers every day of the week. ZOA has filed many amicus briefs to the Supreme Court on issues that affect our agenda. It was ZOA who initiated, with Senator John Kyle, the bill to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. Because of ZOA's campaigns, harsh critics of Israel were denied their official post that they were going to have. Because of ZOA's campaign against Strobe Talbot, who compared Israel to Iraq, he was never made Secretary of State. Salam al-Mariyati, who said that Israel shouldn't even exist, was withdrawn as a candidate for the National Commission on Terrorism because of our campaign. Charles Freeman, who was appointed as the National Intelligence Director, a harsh critic of Israel, he complained bitterly that it's because of ZOA he lost that post. Joe Zogby, who had a high position in the State Department, who called Israel a monster and made many other harsh statements against Israel, he suddenly resigned his post and went elsewhere because of our campaign.
The ZOA Campus Department consists of campus coordinators throughout the country who work with students in their regions to educate about Israel, to tell the truth about Israel, and to give students the tools to stand up for Israel. We have one-of-a-kind trips to Israel that we run twice a year, one in the winter session and one over the summer. This is a trip like no other. College kids from campuses across the country go to Israel and they see areas and they speak to people that most kids on these college trips don't ever get to do or see.
We bring students and others to Ma'ale Adumim, to Efrat, Ariel, Hebron. They learn firsthand that these are not tent cities on a hill. These are wonderful families with wonderful children, raising them, just wanting to live a decent and honorable life.
They really learn the reality of what life in Israel is like and the challenges that Israelis face every single day. And the hope is that they go back to their campuses, fired up and educated and ready to tell the truth about what is going on in Israel and what Israel is facing every single day.
I believe we are the most important pro-Israel organization in the United States. I wish there were 10 ZOAs, but there's only one. No one else is promoting the issues that we promote courageously.
ZOA is focused on the safety, security, survival, and continuity of the State of Israel and the Jews in the United States. And that's what we're about.
I will continue to stand with Mort as a symbol of Zionist unity. So please welcome a great Jewish leader and my friend, Mort Klein.
Since its founding in 1897, the ZOA has played a key role in mobilizing support for the idea of a Jewish state and then afterwards for the State of Israel. And as we celebrate Israel's 70th birthday, I want to express my deep appreciation for all the good work that you have done over the years. The people of Israel appreciate you, and the people of Israel and I thank you.
Shalom and welcome everybody to the most important ZOA Gala of the year, the Florida Superstar Gala. My name is Siggy Flicker. My pronouns are proud Zionist. I was born in Jerusalem, Israel during the Six-Day War. My father ran Yad Vashem's Righteous Gentile Division for over 25 years, and I would personally like to thank every non-Jew in this room who is standing up for the State of Israel and the Jewish people. Toda Rabah, we see you, risottos, and we love you. Toda. Now, if you will please rise, I'd like to welcome Cantor Sagi to do the national anthem and Hatikva.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Tracks?
Let's
Okay. By the way, Lisa, thank you for lending me these reading glasses. As you saw in the wonderful video that just played, the Zionist Organization of America is the only active Jewish organization that's been leading the Zionist charge for 128 years. Under the leadership of such renowned persons as Justice Louis Brandeis, Rabbi Abba Hillel Silver, and for the past 30 years, the one and only Morton Klein. ZOA has been guided by very simple principles: what is best and safe and secure for Israel, including, very important, Judea and Samaria. God gave us one homeland, one Jewish homeland, Judeo-Samaria, the Jordan Valley, and an undivided Jerusalem as Israel's capital, and combating anti-Semitism anywhere in all of its forms. ZOA's positions are based in history, truth, and fact. And though their members take a lot of heat, ZOA has been proven right time and time again. From opposing the ill-advised Oslo and the Gaza withdrawal to calling out those who want to harm Israel. You will hear more about this as the evening progresses. I would like to begin the evening by thanking our diamond sponsors this evening, Helene Lewis and Jacob Stahl, and our platinum sponsors, Pam and Joseph Lubeck. Thank you. We have a very busy schedule tonight, so let's jump right into our program to introduce our first honoree, the recipient of ZOA's Zionist Hero Award. I'd like to call to the podium Mike Huckabee's Chief of Staff, David Milstein.
Okay, we will get this started. I am very honored to be here tonight with my stepdad, Mark Levin. Yes. To help on behalf of my mom, who could not be here tonight, to present the ZOA Zionist Hero Award to a dear and close friend to all of us, many people who you know her very, very well, Lauren Gross. Lauren has lived in South Florida for many years, and she does so many important things. But more specifically, she's the director of the Gross Family Center for the Study of Anti-Semitism and the Holocaust. And Lauren is on the front lines every single day doing the important work that all of us are also fighting for, which is ensuring that everyone in this beautiful state and around the country understands what's going on with the fight against anti-Semitism, as well as the evils and the horrors that took place during the Holocaust. Under Lauren's leadership, the Gross Family Center presents an unparalleled and compelling and super important educational programming with many, many important renowned speakers. And I've been to many of those events, and I would encourage all of you to attend as well. Lauren personally takes the time to carefully select each speaker to ensure that they will boldly and courageously, with tremendous moral clarity, tackle the most difficult subjects that we see all the time in the news today. And she does so with such grace and with such an unapologetic nature. Lauren has devoted her entire life to Holocaust education so that the horrors that took place over 75 years ago are never diluted and also never forgotten. As everybody knows, they have so many important lessons for all of us here today. And I also know personally that she boldly takes on many school boards and districts that are happening in South Florida, because while the governor can do very important work in requiring and even withholding funding to localities to ensure that they teach and do the right thing when it comes to educating and combating anti-Semitism and teaching about the Holocaust, it requires people like Lauren to hold their feet to the fire. She also insists that people know the truth about Israel, which is very difficult in a world in which the media, of course, falsely and shamefully slanders Israel time and time again. She takes the time to teach everyone about the deep history of the Jewish people, that goes back to the land of Israel over 3,500 years. And of course, what occurred, unfortunately, a little over a year ago with what happened on October 7th. Often Lauren, as my mom writes, because I'm reading her words, not mine, is the lone and courageous voice, because she takes the time and has the deep commitment to prevail on almost all these important fights. She's undaunted by any pushback that she receives. In fact, as my mom writes, anything that seeks to push her back just strengthens her own resolve. Introducing Lauren is also very important for myself and for my family, because my mom has known Lauren for many, many, many years. They go back to kindergarten. And when I say many, many years, I realized that my mom would be like, we're not that old, David. So just a few short years ago when they were in kindergarten, I remember actually my mom driving us down Lawrence Street in northern New Jersey, and we would see where she lived. And my mom would often talk about how close they were when they were growing up and how special Lauren has always been to my mom as a dear friend. So my mom has also told me and my sister Jenna, who's very smart, she's a doctor at Johns Hopkins, and I try to keep up with her, that it's most important to have good quality friends. It's not just a quantity of friends that you have, and that really is what blesses us. And so my mom is very, very proud to include Lauren as one of her dear and close and quality friends. There's so much more I can say about Lauren, but it's very clear that Lauren has a deep love and affection for the United States of America, and of course the state of Israel. My mom and Lauren are proud Zionists and every day fight together the important fight that we all care about. Lauren, my mom is so, so proud of you, and she knows you are so worthy of this award and so much more. She really wishes she could be here today, but it's really an honor to have the opportunity to present you the ZOA Zionist Hero Award. So please join us.
Founded in 1897, ZOA played a major role in the Jewish state's reestablishment. Today, ZOA, with Mort Klein at the helm, is the leading major American Jewish organization courageously defending Israel and the Jewish people, fighting against all forms of anti-Semitism, including anti-Jewish boycotts, and promoting the Jewish people's lawful right to live in and settle historic Jewish lands.
Thank you, David. Blessings for the good health of your grandmother, and thank you to ZOA for bestowing upon me this incredible honor. My journey to this stage has been a circuitous one, a journey that has been fostered by my parents, Gail and Paul, by my husband, Steve, by my family, and many friends who show their support by being here tonight, from Australia to Abaco to Aventura, and of course, by Hashem. I am often called a flamethrower by those who know me best because I refuse to allow the injustice of anti-Semitic action to go without rebuttal, and I am intent on bringing truth to power. In that quest, over the past 9 years, we have hosted over 100 speakers, including 5 lectures by Mort, reaching over 75,000 people. Mort Klein evokes some of the strongest responses as he is laser focused right over the target. The reaction to just his invitation has resulted in my being canceled or ejected by various bodies, including the Jewish Federation and the JCC. To be fair, Jexit also got me expelled from a shul, so thank you to Michelle, Terrace, and Siggy. The first time I heard Mort Klein speak at an event some years ago, I could not believe what I heard. This was no ordinary leader of your typical Jewish organization. Mort is brave, unapologetic, a master of the history and the facts that are so elusive to so many. The man is a warrior. He is a brigadier general of the Zionist forces of America. I should say that I am incredibly humbled to be amongst this lineup of luminaries, but Golda Meir famously warned us not to be so humble because we're not that great. But one of our very truly greats, George Washington, in his famous 1790 letter to the Hebrew congregation in Newport, wrote, and I quote, "May the Father of all mercies scatter light and not darkness upon our paths, and make us all in our several vocations useful here, and in his own due time and way, everlastingly happy." Close quote. I am indeed blessed to have found my vocation, to feel useful to our people, to fight for that which we know to be moral and just, for the security of a nation and the elusive peace that we seek for Israel, the diaspora Jews, and our students against the escalating Jew hatred on campus. I, as director of the Gross Family Center, am so proud to share this battlefield with all of you. Am Israel Chai.
Mazal Tov, Lauren. We have other dignitaries in the room who we would like to call out and thank tonight. I'd like to thank Louis, Helene Stahl, Pam and Joseph Lubeck, Gustavo Blachman, Paul Kruss, Kathy and Howard Renson, Elaine and Bob Guzardi, Gabrielle Barides, Rabbi Mark Rosenberg, Ruben Margolis, Cheryl Silver, my friend Gary Schottenstein, Ken Abramovitz, Adam Scott Bellows, Rabbi Vigler, Rabbi Alan Bell, and Miss Billy Marcus. Now, we all know that a few short months ago, the world lost a brilliant business titan, a philanthropist, a giant. Bernie Marcus was an ardent Zionist, a great friend to ZOA, a dear personal friend to ZOA National President Mort Klein. And wow, I know that he's in heaven right now looking down at us and telling us to continue our fight to crush jihad. Our next award, we're gonna do it. Our next award is given in his honor, as well as that of another great businessman, philanthropist, friend of ZOA, and a very good friend of Bernie Marcus. His name is Michael Levin. To introduce the recipient of the Bernie Marcus Michael Levin Award for Outstanding Pro-Israel Diplomacy, please welcome Michael Levin.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And if you didn't see, Billy Marcus is sitting right over here and came tonight with us, with my wife Andrea, to present this award in the name of Bernie Marcus, of course. All that was said about him is absolutely true. One of the great philanthropists in the Jewish world and left a legacy that will go on for many, many years to come. I'm honored tonight to introduce a friend of mine who wrote this book, which many of you have on your table or chair. He calls it In the Lion's Den. I think it's worse than that, actually, referring to the United Nations. I met Danny about 6 years ago when he took the job. And he knocked on my door in Boca Raton, and we had a meeting. And I asked him, why are you doing this? And he said he wanted to do well for the state of Israel and guarantee that they could survive in that lion's den. He's a wonderful man. His wife, his family lived in New York. We had many meetings, talked a lot about it. And I thought he was sort of sane. But then I found out he was going back for another term. And now I have a serious question why he would do that. And maybe tonight he'll tell you why. but he is a staunch advocate for the state of Israel. His relationships with other people in that building will really blow your mind, how they like him and respect him and whatever. And he keeps trying to do something in a very, very difficult environment. Not much you can say about the UN, I'm sure, but at the end of the day, we should all be proud and happy that Danny is there standing for Israel and fighting for Israel on a daily basis. So this award is for public diplomacy. I can tell you that if any of us wanted to survive in that environment, you better have public diplomacy, that's for sure. And no one would do it better than my friend and compatriot, Ambassador Danone from the United Nations.
We did not start this war, but we will protect our homes, our land, and our people. Over the past year, we have seen anti-Semitism escalate from words to acts of terror. It is imperative that member states confront anti-Semitism wherever it emerges, for only through collective action we can make a lasting difference.
Shalom, good evening. Thank you, my dear friend Michael, for that warm introduction. I'm not used to it coming from the UN. Actually, for me to be here in a room full of friends of Israel, ambassadors for Israel, it's unique, and I'm grateful to be here among friends. I know some of you for decades, and I'm proud to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to be here tonight with you to support ZOA. Along with my friends, Professor Alan Dershowitz, Loren Gross, Rabbi Schneier, Congressman Donalds, and my dear friend Mark Levin. Usually we talk or we do it virtually, but it's great meeting you in person. It is a privilege to be here tonight with my longtime friend, Mort Klein. Mort, I don't know if you remember, but Rita remembers the first time we met, 32 years ago, when I was an emissary down here in Florida, and I organized a conference for students, and I invited you to speak there in upstate New York, and you came. And you came and we spent Shabbat together, and since then, Mort, we have been in this fight together. We won some of the battles, we lost some of them, but we always looked forward. Thank you for your unwavering support for Israel and your commitment to the Jewish people. You know, I can name most of the names here, but I will not do it tonight. I see Barbara, Reuven, you know, everybody here. But I want to acknowledge Billy. We definitely miss Bernie Marcus. And I can tell you that when I was at the UN and I need to call someone for advice, I used to call him or come here to Boca to meet with him, and we miss his wisdom. We miss his passion, and we think about him. Thank you very much for honoring us tonight. You know, Michael, you mentioned that I'm the first person to return to the UN as Israel's ambassador. You know, when I concluded my term in 2020, after 5 long years, you know, I said that's enough. 5 years, usually ambassadors serve 2-3 years. I concluded my term, I wrote a book, I moved on, I got re-elected to the Knesset, and I thought I will never come back to this building. But then October 7th happened, and it changed our lives completely. And when the Prime Minister called me and told me, Danny, we need you to go back there, I told him, Mr. Prime Minister, you know, I'm at your service.
And I'm proud to be back. I'm not happy to be back, but I'm proud to be back serving Israel at this time. I knew the road would not be easy. I knew I was returning to a place where there had been no condemnation of Hamas. Can you believe it? Since October 7th, the Security Council passed 77 resolutions about Ukraine, about the DRC, 0 condemnations of Hamas, 0 condemnations in the General Assembly. You know, we all know what happened there. And the UN was not able to pass a single resolution. Nor had there been any outrage over the suffering of the hostages held by Hamas in their terror dungeons. For months, I have watched the UN pass one resolution after another, targeting us, targeting Israel, while ignoring the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. I have sat since August in chambers in the Security Council where moral clarity was replaced with moral equivalence between Israel and the terrorists who murdered our children. When I sit there and I hear ambassadors from very important countries that tell us, we care about the hostages and the detainees of Hamas. They put in the same sentence our hostages and those who actually killed, captured, raped, and burned. This is the moral clarity of the United Nations. It's a place where Israel is expected to surrender while our people are still in captivity. But I can tell you tonight one thing. Those days are over. Are over. In the past few months, we have begun to turn the tide. We have taken the fight directly to the UN. We have brought the voices of our hostages into the lion's den. Just 10 days ago, I invited Eli Sharabi, and he came to the United Nations. It wasn't easy for him. Yeah, you can clap for him. He's a brave man. He stood before the United Nations only 6 weeks after being released from nearly 500 days in Hamas captivity. He starved there. They gave him 1/4 of a pita bread per day. He shared with the ambassadors that he saw the Hamas terrorists bringing the aid, the humanitarian aid, into the tunnels, but they were not sharing it with the hostages. So when they speak about starvation in Gaza, the only starvation in Gaza, you can see it when our hostages are coming back. When he came back, he discovered that his entire family had been murdered. His wife, his 2 daughters, and his brother. And he asked a simple question: where was the United Nations? It was a question which no one in the room could answer. Where had they been when we cried out for help? When our people were dragged into Gaza? Eli Sharabi told them the truth. He told them what he saw in the tunnels of Hamas. He exposed the complicity, the rot, and the silence. But he is not alone. Tonight, I'm telling you out loud, the days of ignoring the hostages are over. The days of defending terror are over. We are no longer playing defense. Since October 7th, Israel has shown its strength on every front. We are dismantling Hamas's leadership in Gaza one by one. We are dealing with the Houthis in Yemen with the support of the United States. We dealt a devastating blow against Hezbollah in Lebanon. You heard about the beepers, about other things, not about everything. There are things that we cannot share.
But Hezbollah today, it's not Hezbollah that was there before October 7th. And we have struck deep inside Iran to protect our people. Our enemies thought they could break us. Instead, they have awakened the Lion of Judah. What they have seen is only the beginning. Israel will fight, Israel will endure, and Israel will win. We will dismantle the terrorist army that threaten our people. We will bring our hostages back, all of them. We will secure our homeland, but this war doesn't end at the border of Gaza. It spread across the globe in the form of anti-Semitism. Since October 7th, we have seen an explosion of hatred on campuses, in the streets, and even in the halls of governments across the world. Tonight here at the reception, I have met with many of the young people who have been harassed, intimidated, and assaulted on campus simply for being Jewish. University presidents have hidden behind weak words while their institutions have become breeding grounds for radicalism. Celebrities have justified murder and wrapped it in the language of so-called activism. We know what this is. This is pure Jew hatred, ancient, vile, and unrelenting. To all those who believe they can intimidate us, let me say this. You have failed. You will always fail, because we are not guests in history. We are part of its core. We have outlived Pharaoh, Amman, and Hitler. We will outlive Hamas, Hezbollah, and every campus protest that cheers for terror. Dear friends, there has been a shift. Thanks to the leadership of President Trump, the United Nations is no longer what it once was. I was there. I saw the change. When I served in my first term, I saw his administration stood up to the lies, pulled funding from UNRWA, withdrew from the Human Rights Council, and moved the embassy to Jerusalem. That clarity of purpose made a difference. Now, the gloves are off. You know, I will be honest with you tonight. We have been waiting for Elise Stefanik to assume a position at the United Nations. I will not hide it. And I will tell you a secret. In her first week, she planned to fly to Israel. And we had everything organized. Short visit. Next week, actually, it should have happened. Meeting the Prime Minister, the President, taking helicopters, flying to the north, see the borders, meeting the hostages' family. We had everything planned, but we know we believe in God. So I'm sure that Elise will show her unwavering support for Israel in whatever position she will hold. And I'm sure that President Trump will choose an amazing ambassador for the US to work with me at the UN. And to those sitting in the UN, I have a message for you tonight. Brace yourself. Buckle up. Buckle up. We intend to expose the hypocrisy of the UN, restore moral clarity to its dark holes, and stand firm in defense of Israel against those who seek its destruction. Our enemies thought October 7th would be the end of us, but it has only made us stronger, more united, and more determined.
We now have the chance to reshape the Middle East, to rebuild alliances, to reject the dangerous fantasy of rewarding terrorists, to reaffirm our rights in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria, the cradle of our civilization. You know, the world may pressure us. They may pass the resolutions. And I tell my friends in the government, whenever we have discussions, you do what you have to do. You finish the job. Let me handle those players in the UN. We will not back down. We will not apologize. We will not accept lectures about morality from those who stood by as our people were burned alive. My friends, I know many of you here. I have stood alongside you for decades. Your dedication, your unwavering commitment to defending Israel has never faltered. It is that strength, the strength of the Jewish people of Israel and the diaspora, standing shoulder to shoulder, that will carry us forward. It is your voices in Congress, on campuses, in the press, and in your communities that remind the world that we are not alone. We are the people of Israel. We will fight against Hamas and their allies in the General Assembly. We will fight against terrorists and their enablers in the Security Council. We will neutralize threat from Iran, and we will expose the diplomatic hypocrites who deal with them, as long as we remember who we are, as long as we stay proud, united, and unafraid, we will prevail. Toda Rabba. Am Yisrael Chai.
Amazing. What a speech. Thank you so much, Ambassador. Thank you. It reminds me of a time, being born in Israel. My father fought during the 6-Day War. My grandfather fought in 1948. Israel's smaller than the size of New Jersey, and such miracles happen and come out of that state. In 1948, we didn't even have an army. We had nothing. We had one airplane, and we defeated 7 nations. In 1967, 3 of the strongest Arab nations came at us. They didn't have a shot. In 73, when we were davening, they surprise attacked us. Hashem was there for us again. Time after time, Israel has shown its strength, which makes me so proud for the young generation back there. Am Yisrael Chai, you continue to stand up and be loud and proud, and we will take those clowns in the United Nations and put them back in the circus where they belong. Okay, where am I right now? I don't do very well with scripts, so hold on. Okay, so here it is. I'm going to call up my good friend, a businessman, a recent recipient of the ZOA Justice Louis Brandeis Award and ZOA National Board member, Gary Schottenstein, to introduce our next honoree. Gary? I'm trying.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed supporters of the ZOA, it's my distinct honor, privilege, and pleasure to introduce our Pillar of the Community honoree. Rabbi Moshe Shiner is founding rabbi of the widely renowned Palm Beach Synagogue. I could truly speak all evening about his family, background, education, credentials, awards, travels, work on behalf of the Jewish people and Israel. But I will just briefly mention a few things about this great family man and humble leader. In 1994, there was actually no official or even informal Orthodox Judaism presence on the wonderful island of Palm Beach. Rabbi Shiner and his outstanding wife, Rebbetzin Dini, have masterfully created not only an outstanding congregation, but a community center of both Jewish life and civic involvement and outreach. My wife, Terry, and I have been fortunate to be congregants for over 20 years. The Shabbat services, all of the programming and participation in all of the many inspiring Torah and educational and family and youth activities and areas are now so popular that there's almost a waiting list, even almost to join the synagogue. Rabbi Shiner also has an excellent reputation for his commitment and stature in the general and non-Jewish communities here in the Florida and Palm Beach areas. There has been much appreciation and gratitude, in particular, about everything done by the shul and its members since October 7th. 6 trips to Israel and all of the wonderful activities and involvement that they've had. And it's all because of the dynamic leadership of our blessed rabbi. Please welcome our community pillar, Rabbi Moshe Shiner.
There's a new resurgence of anti-Semitism, not just on Facebook posts or in social media, but violence.
Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel famously said, "Israel is the heart of the world, but every heart has a heart, and Jerusalem is the heart of the world." Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you, Gary, for your kind words. It's truly humbling and an honor to be here with all of you tonight. And when Mort Klein calls, how could you say no to a man who puts his life on the line every day to strengthen the Jewish people and defend the land of Israel? Tell a story about a man who comes into a kosher bakery. And he asks, how much is a challah? They tell him a challah is $15. He says, $15 for a challah? They said, actually, the challah is $10, but $5 is for Israel. He says, how much is that babka? They tell him the babka is $30. He says, $30 for a babka? He said, actually, the babka is $20, but $10 is for Israel. He says, how much is that cheesecake? They tell him the cheesecake is $55. He says, $55 for a cheesecake? They say, actually, the cheesecake is $40, but $15 is for Israel. The customer says, this is ridiculous. I've never seen a bakery like this in my life. I want to speak to the owner of the bakery. And the lady behind the counter pushes open the swinging doors to the bakery and behind the counter and says, Israel, a customer wants to speak to you. The Jewish people love Israel. The Jewish people support Israel. But no one supports Israel and speaks out as loudly and as clearly as Mort Klein and the ZOA, and we are honored to be here tonight. I will just tell you that the first time I met Mort was in 1995 when he came to the Palm Beach Synagogue, when we were still in the rooftop of the Palm Beach Hotel. And that was the days when the world was euphoric about this idea that Arafat was going to make peace with Israel if we only give them territory, and the Oslo Accords. And Mort spoke in our synagogue with such clarity and said this will bring nothing but tragedy upon the Jewish people. And when I heard his words, I heard a man speaking truth. and standing up against the tidal wave of those who thought that this would be the solution, the two-state solution. And only now have many come around to see the truth in Mort's vision and understanding of the truth of the realities of the Middle East. Thank you, Mort, for being such a staunch supporter of Israel. Well, when I got the invitation, it said it's a superstar gala. And I asked myself, what does it mean to be a superstar? What do you have to do to be a superstar? And the Superstar Gala of the Zionist Organization of America. Well, what makes you a Zionist? And when I thought about a superstar, I thought about the story in the book of Genesis, where God takes Abraham outdoors and says, look up to the heavens. Usifor hakochavim, count the stars, because your children will be superstars. They will be like the stars in the heaven. But then God goes on to tell Abraham, and your children will be like the sand on the seashores. Kechol asher al svat hayam. And the question is twofold. First of all, why does God have to give two analogies, like the stars in the heaven and the sand on the seashores? And furthermore, we know there are far more stars in the heavens, billions and trillions of stars, far more stars in the heaven than all the specks of sand on the seashores. So once God says we're going to be like the stars in the heaven, which dwarfs the amount of specks of sand on the seashores on earth, why does God have to say we will also be like the sand on the seashore? And our commentaries explain that everyone who is a descendant of Abraham and Sarah, everyone who is a disciple of Abraham and Sarah, everyone who carries on the righteousness and the justice of Abraham and Sarah and their vision for humanity are like a star in the heaven, a shining light, an infinite light in the heavens that radiates its greatness upon the earth. But you know, each light, each star has its own unique light. On the other hand, when you look at a speck of sand, one granule of sand has no meaning, no worth, no value, no importance. But when all the specks of sand combine together and tightly come together, shoulder to shoulder, they form the most beautiful shores of the oceans and withhold the mightiest waves of the ocean. And that's what God says. Every Jew, every descendant, every follower of Abraham and Sarah is a light unto their own, a shining star, a superstar. But at the same time, it's only when we come together like the specks of the sand on the seashore that we gain our true strength. And that's what the ZOA does. It shines its great light like every one of us, urges us to reach our potential, to be advocates, to be staunch supporters of Israel, to be voices in the wilderness, to be courageous like Mort, to speak the truth unequivocally. But at the same time, it unifies the Jewish people like the specks of the sand, that we stand united, because only when we are united can we withstand the tidal waves of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. And what does it mean to be a Zionist? And I'm reminded of the story of the first president of Israel, Chaim Weizmann, who was lobbying for the creation of the state of Israel in front of the House of Lords. And one of the British lords said, Mr. Weizmann, why do you insist on establishing the state of Israel in the middle of the Middle East, such a war-torn neighborhood filled with violence and bloodshed? Why don't you find another territory like Uganda to establish the Jewish state? And Chaim Weizmann looked at that British lord and he said, that's like if I would ask you, why did you travel 20 miles this past Sunday to go visit your mother when there are many nice old ladies that live on your own block? To be a Zionist means to know that our roots go back to Abraham and Sarah when God told them, Lech Lecha, this is the land I will give to you and your descendants. Zionism didn't begin in 1948 or with Theodor Herzl. It began with Abraham and Sarah and God giving the land of Israel to the Jewish people. And to be a Zionist means that we stand up against those that call us occupiers, settlers, and colonizers. And we say, this is the land that God gave to the Jewish people, to our grandmother and grandfather, Abraham and Sarah. I just want to conclude by saying that just a few weeks ago, I had the privilege of going to Israel with a small delegation from our synagogue, and we met each and every one of the hostages that was returned to their loved ones to Israel in this last exchange, which began in January. And the very first hostage we visited was a young girl who was abducted from Nachal Oz, from the Army Observation Post, on the 7th of October, only 20 years old, Karina Aryav. And we sat with Karina in her little apartment with her mother, her father, and her sister. And she told us how on Passover of 2024, when she was in captivity in the tunnels of Gaza, she and her friends who were abducted with her from Nachal Oz conducted a Passover Seder in captivity in the presence of their captors. And they managed to make a Seder plate with whatever items they could find that resembled the Passover Seder. And whatever they remembered from their homes, from their Passover, they sang whichever songs they remembered. And she said the most moving moment of the Seder they conducted in the tunnels of Gaza, surrounded by terrorists, was when they sang the song V'hi Sha'amda, that in every generation they rise up to destroy us, to kill us, but Almighty God saves us from their hands. And then I said to Karina, I said, it's so wonderful to be in your home, a happy home, a home where I could only imagine for 50 months how much pain and sadness was in this home while you were gone, and now you're home with your mother and father and with your sister. It's so wonderful to be in this joyous, happy home. And I'll never forget, Karina looked at me and said, this is not a happy home. Until every single one of the hostages come home, this home will not be a happy home. And so as we sit at our seders, let us hope in the next 2 weeks all of the hostages will come home. But let us remember that there are those who are physically in captivity, do not have the freedoms we have. And it's only by each and every one of us who are here tonight doing our utmost to speak the truth for Israel, for the hostages, for the Jewish people. Only that strength displayed by ZOA will bring them all home. May it be speedily and soon. Thank you.
In addition to our esteemed honorees this evening, ZOA's influence in the pro-Israel, pro-Jewish space is evidenced by the caliber of the decision makers who are our partners and friends. Please watch this inspiring video.
The ZOA is the premier organization of advocacy for the rights of Jews to live securely in their indigenous homeland of Israel. Please welcome the president of the ZOA, Morton Klein. Morton, so glad to have you here.
Great to be with you.
The horrific terrorist attack on the Jewish people of Israel has shaken the world, but yet we see these crazy things happening, especially on the most elite college campuses, where people act like they're supporting Hamas, and it's Israel's fault. This has to be troubling for you as a Jewish leader.
It is shocking, and one of the reasons this is happening, I believe, is that the students, the kids, and really many people in America do not know the truth of the Arab-Islamic war against Israel, the Jews, and the West. They believe that Israel stole this land from a sovereign Arab country called Palestine. There's never been an Arab country called Palestine. It was a region. In fact, Palestine is a Roman name. So the issue is not about land. It's not about statehood. It's about destroying Israel.
Please give a big round of applause to someone who's an enormous, stalwart supporter of Israel, our friend. She is the chair of the House Republican Conference and the great Congresswoman Elise Stefanik.
And thank you to Mort Klein and the ZOA for your tireless work building a strong, effective, and respected Jewish voice around the world. I will ask you one more time, Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It depends on the context.
It does not depend on the context. The answer is yes, and this is why you should resign. These are unacceptable answers across the board.
I can't thank you enough for your bold, courageous leadership all year long. There are often times where on particular issues, there are people, groups, unable, unwilling to step up and sound off on what instinctively we know is the right path forward for policy. But you can always count on Mort Klein and ZOA and really all of the great team to courageously stand up, even if they are going to be the only ones or the first ones to put their necks out there on very important issues for the United States, for our national security, for the U.S.-Israel alliance, for the Middle East and the world.
My wife Kelly and I have made multiple trips to Israel. We love Israel. A strong U.S.-Israel relationship is good for the entire world. It's something that we must maintain. See, our two countries are bound together by our shared values and our deep religious convictions, of course. It's the Judeo-Christian foundation that built America. And this is one of the reasons why our nation and Israel have been able to enjoy such harmony and friendship over the years. It's critically important to us for many reasons, not just because of diplomacy and international relations and all the things that bind us to our other allies around the world, but because for so many of us, this is also a matter of faith.
Now I stand before you proudly to accept the Theodore Herzl Medallion. To everyone here at the Zionist Organization of America, thank you for bestowing me with this incredible honor. The United States and Israel are not just allies on a military basis, but economically and politically, we're allies morally, culturally, and spiritually, and we always will be. At least if I have anything to do about it, I will tell you. As president, I was proud to be the best friend. This has been stated by many, so I'm just repeating it, but the best friend the state of Israel has ever had in the White House. I think that's certain. Under my leadership, the alliance between the United States and Israel had never been stronger. The future of the Middle East had never been brighter, it never looked brighter.
Wow. ZOA has the most impressive friends, correct? Am I right? I want to tell you something. A few weeks ago, I was with President Trump, and he says to me, Siggy, are you happy? I said, well, Mr. President, when all the hostages come home, that's when I'm really going to do the Hava Nagila Hava. But I want you to know one thing. You have a more pro-Israel cabinet than the state of Israel sometimes, I believe. I said, am I happy? And he goes, and by the way, Siggy, you know that I sent all the weapons to Israel and I gave them the okay to do whatever they want to do. I said, Toda Rabah. That is the greatest president in the history of America, and Israel's lucky to have President Donald John Trump. Now I get to the uncomfortable part. Everybody, we all know that the World Zionist Congress every year, and I'm going to explain it to you in like simple terms, they're allocated billions and billions of dollars. Let's say $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion. And all these organizations try to get a chunk of that money. Now on your table you have QR codes. We need your money and we need you to vote for slate number 15, and here's why. I want you to understand that in Israel, they have the same issue that we have in America. There are the leftists and there are the righties. It's very simple. If the lefties get hold of any amount of money, that money is going to be allocated to buying Hamas underwear and soap. We cannot have that happen. We have to make sure that the right people get the money so we can build in Judea and Samaria. We can, right? So right now, in 2 months that Donald Trump's been president, we've seen a huge change, right? Country is moving in the right direction. We need the same thing to happen in Israel. We must have this money allocated. And I'm begging everybody to take out their phones right now. And please, there's a QR code right there. All you have to do is point your phone to the QR code. Something comes up. And you've got to vote for slate number 15. You've got to register. It's only $5. It's the best $5 you will ever spend in your life. Because once again, the Muslims have 50 countries. The Christians have plenty of countries, well deserved. But we have one Jewish homeland, and we have to make sure that the money goes to the right places and it doesn't get into the hands of the people right now, our own people. We have a problem with our own, just like in America, who want to destroy Israel from within. So I'm begging you, vote slate 15, ZOA, the greatest coalition in the world. Simply put. Okay. Are you guys taking out your phones, or should I say it again? Oh, you did it? Okay. And if you need help, there are people here to help. Guys, listen, jihad is a well-oiled machine. It's very simple. They can't spell Bob backwards, but they got a great PR machine. Their job is to infiltrate every country, populate, dominate, and never assimilate. And they do the same thing as Saul Alinsky's playbook, Rules for Radicals. Everything they accuse us of is everything they are guilty of. The only way that we are going to defeat them is by raising money, being proud Jews, and having ZOA right there, fighting, and building in Judea and Samaria. That's it. Very simple, and we're going to do it. Okay. Our next award is the ZOA Robert Kasowitz Outstanding Patriot and Pro-Israel Congressman Award. Bob Kasowitz was an American patriot and a strong and passionate supporter of the State of Israel and the United States-Israel relationship. Bob served as the Master Sergeant in the Army Air Force in the European theater during World War II and re-enlisted during the Korean War. Bob was devoted to his family, his wife Felice, his 2 sons, Mark and Stephen, and his daughter Susan. Bob viewed Israel as the ultimate savior of the Jewish people, which, although surrounded and outnumbered by hostile Arab Islamic enemies that sought its destruction, and they still do, used the bravery of its people to more than survive. He instilled in his children the need to protect Jews everywhere from the horrors of anti-Semitism. His son, Mark, a renowned lawyer, now uses the law, as does ZOA, to fight for and protect Jewish students from harassment, discrimination, and worse. Bob would be thrilled and honored that ZOA's Robert Kasowitz Outstanding Patriot and Pro-Israel Congressman Award is being given to Congressman and future Governor of Florida, Byron Donalds, a true American hero and a strong supporter of the Jewish state. Bob's son, Mark, is with us today. He will be on stage to help present the award. And at this time, I'd like to invite one of my best friends, Barbara Feingold, Angel, to the podium to introduce our next distinguished honoree. Barbara.
I got to give this one a hug because, wow,
Okay.
what an MC.
Yes, I'm trying.
Doesn't get better than you, Siggy. I'm honored to stand before you tonight. I feel very empowered in this room tonight, as I think everyone sitting here should feel the same. We are all like-minded people, and we're all on the right, and we all get it, and we all stand up for Israel. So when you sit with people like that, Jewish and non-Jewish, and that's even more empowering, when you sit with non-Jewish people who get it sometimes even better than a lot of us. But I will say this, It's a hard act to follow coming after Rabbi Shiner and Danny Danon. I got a little nervous. I thought, oh my God, what am I going to say after what they've said? Because their moral clarity, their understanding, their ability to present it, the feeling that comes from here and here, we think of our history and where we've come from and how lucky we are as a people to have people like a Rabbi Shiner and a Byron Donalds and a Danny Danon and a Mark Levin and an Alan Dershowitz, and I can go on in this room. I don't mean to eliminate anybody else, but looking right now at people that I know, that I respect, that I appreciate, that I value, that empowers me. And I feel this every single day. I'm very passionate, as many of us in this room are. We are passionate about our beliefs and our stand on Israel. And when we look around this room and we see the people in this room, we know we're doing right. We know we're on the right side of history, and we are thankful for that. So, lucky me gets to introduce a guy tonight that I've become very close to. I consider him and his wife dear family friends. Two non-Jews that I consider friends of mine. And I have many like that, and I feel lucky. I've watched the two of them grow. I've seen how they feel about our country, about the world, and about Israel, and I say, wow, I am lucky. The guy that I'm introducing tonight, Congressman Byron Donalds, is a guy that we all would say he's living the American dream. What does that mean, to live the American dream? It's what we've known for hundreds of years, what we believed in the greatest generation. Who are these people that say, I live the American dream? They're not necessarily people that have grown up with a silver spoon in their mouth. They're people that came from nothing, from a nowhere town, and they had it in here, and they had it in here. They were maybe motivated by a mother or a father or a grandparent or a mentor. But what is it? It's this country, this wonderful country that we live in, that understands that you can start with nothing. And if you take that word, opportunity, what is opportunity? It's what we say in here and here. I live in the United States of America, and I have this opportunity to become anything I want to be. Well, how do you become anything you want to be? When you start out as the man I'm going to introduce, who came from Brooklyn, New York, who was raised by a single mom. Maybe he thought as a kid, what kind of an opportunity do I have? But obviously someone instilled it in him, and he figured it out. And he showed up on the shores of Florida at age 17 with a suitcase in hand, one suitcase. What kind of an opportunity was he going to have? But he got into Florida State University, so obviously he understood hard work can get you there. And he graduated, and he was working. He worked in finance, he worked in insurance, he worked in healthcare. Wow, that's 3 great areas that you really can learn a lot, that you are able then to offer to other people with your knowledge. And from there he decided, well, along the way, I'm sorry, I don't want to leave out his wife, who I adore, Erica, who's sitting next to him. They teamed up, and they found their way to the southwest coast of Florida. And then Byron had this idea that maybe he should run for the state house. Maybe he had a little more to offer. Maybe he had a little more to learn. And he won that election. And he did a great job for the state of Florida. And then he figured out, in this land of opportunity, I can go on and maybe I could become a United States congressman and even offer more. Well, why would this young man have so much to offer? Well, he had a lot going for himself. He loved family. He had a great work ethic. He understood what it meant to have opportunity and what it would mean to give back to his community, what it would mean to give back to the state, what it might mean to give back to the country. Because that's what we're all about, is giving back. Because that's what we've been taught. if you give back, when you're no longer here, you know that you've made a difference in this world. And that's what Byron's been figuring out. And so he ran for United States Congress, and he won. And he got to Washington, and he saw that he could make that difference. And while he was in Washington, he also saw, this land of Israel, I've got to start understanding what's going on between the United States and Israel. And he learned, and he has stood up for Israel many, many times. And he has stood up for anti-Semitism and what's going on the college campuses. And so with all of that, Byron said, maybe my job isn't done yet. Maybe there's some more things I can do. And he got inspired by many who believe in him, one of which who is standing right here, and decided maybe it's my time to run for governor of the state of Florida. Now, I will tell you, when President Trump was running for this election, Byron was there right by his side. He knew that Trump was the right guy at the right time to win this election for the second time. He saw while he was in Congress what had happened for 4 years with the other side in power. And he was worried for this country, and he was worried for Israel, and he was worried for the world. So he stood up with President Trump, and he went around the country in his little moments of spare time fighting for President Trump to win this election. And so Byron, when he decided to run for governor, he got the endorsement of Trump right away. And his campaign just recently kicked off, and he is off and running, and as President Trump said, run, Byron, run, and he's running. And with all of you here, I believe with all of you here, you are going to help get Byron to become the next governor of the great state of Florida. I only wish my husband Jeffrey was here tonight, of blessed memory. I will tell you, he loved all of this. He loved the state of Israel. He loved everything Mort Klein had to say. He listened to him intently. He was close with Danny Danon, felt like a brother to him. And I wished, but I feel like he's here tonight because I feel so good about where we are now and where we are headed if we all stand together. Thank you so much, Congressman Donald.
The Middle East is on fire. And the only way you're going to put this fire out is to stand solely behind Israel, make sure they have everything they need to finish the job of securing the nation of Israel. You have to be firm in the face of your adversaries.
I say first and foremost that as a country, we will stand with Israel. We must stand with Israel. The number one thing that matters is getting all of the hostages home. Good evening, everybody. Oh, you could do better than that. Good evening. First of all, to my friend Barbara Feingold, thank you so much for that introduction. It's rare for me to kind of get choked up, but that was really powerful, and I thank you so much for your friendship, for your guidance, for your vigilance, your leadership, and your strong stances for the nation of Israel. Thank you, Barbara. To my wife, Erica, it's always good to see you. Thank you for making the journey over to Palm Beach with me. I love you, honey. I love you. Morton, Mr. Klein, your leadership has been exemplary in the United States, standing for Israel, and all of your hard work. I thank you for your organization, your leadership, and really for your steadfastness, because to lead an organization, to have to stand against the radicals in this planet, and frankly, the radicals in this country, means you have to have a true spine of steel. And I appreciate you, and I'm grateful to be here tonight for what you have done. Thank you, sir. To the MC, Siggy, man, Siggy, love you. That's it. That's all I'm gonna tell you is I love you. You're great. The person who probably doesn't think I'm gonna say anything about him is to my political mentor, my friend Mark Levin. I know you're gonna see him in a second, but I was asked by a reporter. They asked me the other day, like, who's your mentor in politics? And I had to sit there and think about it. And I said, honestly, my first real mentor in politics was Mark Levin. He is the great one. F. Lee Levin. He is passionate, loud. When I first started listening to you, I thought you were a little crazy. But I will say that your leadership in this country and your voice in this country is unmatched by virtually anybody that has been in media for the last 20 plus years. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. I'm really honored to accept this award, but I'm still saddened. And I'm saddened for the families who still have not heard about their loved ones or are still waiting to see their loved ones return from being hostages in Gaza. And as a member of Congress, I will tell you that the United States government, we will not rest until every hostage comes home. And the other thing I will tell you as a member of Congress and as somebody who's going to be the next governor of Florida, I will tell you that you always have a friend in me. We will stand against anti-Semitism. We will stand against hate. It will not be tolerated in Florida, and not simply not tolerated. It will be fought, it will be defeated, and it will be eradicated in the state of Florida. I'm glad I had a little bit of time, because Rabbi Shiner, that was a tremendous speech. And usually I'm not afraid to speak after somebody, but I'm glad they played the video and Siggy and Barbara do what they do, because it gave me a little bit of time and space. But I will tell you, sir, that was one of the most impressive set of remarks I've ever heard. So anytime your home is open to me, I will be glad to be there. I went to Israel back in 2019 for the first time. And when you're in Israel, it doesn't take long to realize that Israel is surrounded by its enemies. The other thing it doesn't take long to see, and more, this is really to you, it doesn't take long to see that a two-state solution is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. It's just dumb. I mean, this is done by people who think Model UN is a serious thing. And they don't understand the realities that happen in communities or happen in nations. When I set foot in Israel, I was there for, I think it was 9 days. And around day 7, the trip I was on, most of the people on my trip were Democrats. I was the only Republican. And the two-state solution came up, and they go, well, Byron, what do you think? And I said, well, who is Israel going to negotiate with? Are they going to negotiate with a boss? He's old and almost dying. Like, who's going to uphold the other end of this deal if you think that solution is a solution that's worth it? No, it doesn't make sense. Well, what do you think the solution is, Byron? Well, the solution is simple. The United States must stand with Israel, period. That's the solution. So when President Trump issued his executive order on anti-Semitism, I will tell you, I fully support it. I am so happy that President Trump is back in the White House. And Barbara said it. Barbara said it, and Siggy, you leaned into it a little bit. Siggy, I'm gonna lean a little further. Is that okay? I'm gonna lean a little further. You know, look, politics, not just in Israel, but obviously in the United States, is a funny business. You'd be surprised all the things that get said. And I've heard it been said about me that I've campaigned in other states. I wasn't really around in Florida. Well, I will tell you that the battle for this country and the battle for human dignity and for human liberty and religious liberty and economic liberty, those battles weren't in Florida last fall because Florida is red. Those battles were in the battleground states across America. So I am honored to have spent time on the ground campaigning for Donald Trump because Donald Trump is the very best president ever to stand with the nation of Israel. And under his leadership, we are going to rebuild Gaza without one remnant of Hamas because they will be eradicated from the face of the earth. Ambassador, I am sorry that my colleague Elise Stefanik is not going to be able to join you because I know Elise would have done a fantastic job as the American ambassador to the United Nations. But I share your sentiments because for those knucklehead fools in the UN, what they need to understand is that the American resolve to stand with Israel is not going away. Thank God Kamala Harris is not president of the United States. Because whomever President Trump chooses to nominate, I will assure you that person will be a steadfast supporter. They will have your six. They will take on the UN. And you know what? That's pretty good real estate. We might need to move them anyway. But they will stand with you. Last but not least, to the Zionist Organization of America. You guys are on the right side of history. Never let anybody tell you otherwise. And the reason why you're on the right side of history is because you stand for the dignity of all people. You stand for the liberty of all people. You stand for peace. Let's be very clear about this. You stand for peace. And if you're going to truly stand for peace, then there cannot be weak-kneed negotiations that leave Israel in a worse state from a matter of national security. It simply cannot be tolerated. ZOA, I will tell you, having traveled the United States, I think I've been in about a little more than 30 states so far. I will tell you, having been all around our country, that most Americans stand with you. What needs to happen is that all Americans stand with you. And the reason why this is critical is because the relationship between America and Israel is a very special relationship. It is a relationship where, if you examine the roots of both of our nations, it wasn't about powers, it wasn't about land, it wasn't about weaponry, it wasn't about money or economics. It was about making sure that a free people could actually grow up, who could come from the streets of any town, any place, anywhere, and build themselves into something. It is about a nation where families are respected and honored. It's about a nation where religion is protected and people can worship as they see fit. It is about nations that truly have won the battle of, frankly, the life of this planet, where you can organize governments and you can organize a society that is built upon free people being able to be the best that they can possibly be. So ZOA, I thank you for your mission. Keep fighting, keep going. God bless you all. Thank you for having me. Have a great night.
Wow. Thank you so much, Congressman Erica. Thank you. Thank you. Toda. This is really a superstar ZOA Florida Gala. Superstar, what a lineup, what a lineup. This night couldn't have happened without the person that I'm going to call up next. We call her Wonder Woman. Can you please give a round of applause for the person who made this night possible, Allison Zur.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. It's so great to see you. It's so exciting to have the opportunity to honor our superstar Zionist heroes, Ambassador Danny Danone, Congressman Byron Donalds, Professor Alan Dershowitz, Rabbi Shiner, and our very own ZOA Florida Advisory Board member, Lauren Gross. Thank you so much to Siggy for bringing your infectious energy to this room and for fighting so hard to ensure that Israel's safety is always a priority in our administration. And I want to thank you again to all of the generous sponsors in this room, with a special shout out to our diamond sponsors, Louis and Helene Stahl, and our platinum sponsors, Joseph and Pam Lubeck. Thank you. I also want to personally thank our dinner co-chairs, Elaine and ZOA National Board Treasurer, Bob Guzzardi, and Kathy and Howard Renson. It's been so wonderful working with you. Thank you. And thank you to the entire Gala Host Committee. Our ZOA chapter in Florida is proud to have such an exceptional presence, and I'm grateful to each and every one of you for supporting our work to protect the state of Israel and protect the Jewish people. As everyone in this room is aware of, this past year and a half has been exceptionally challenging for Israel and the Jewish people. Our Florida chapter of ZOA has been dedicated to hosting Zionist educational events all over the state that help inform the public of what's really happening in the Middle East and encourage them to join us and stand up and be a voice. We are not only expanding our reach geographically, but also generationally. In addition to our incredible Florida Advisory Board, we also have a ZOA Young Adult Steering Committee comprised of 14 young, passionate Zionists in their 20s, 30s, and early 40s. Most of them are here in the room with us tonight, and they are committed to our mission. Thank you to all of our ZOA Florida leaders for joining us and all of the support and time that you give. Next up is Mia Blatchman, an actress, a writer, a journalist, and a legal assistant. But most importantly, she is a loud and proud Zionist student activist. Mia's passion and pride in her Judaism and Zionism is inspirational. She is here tonight because ZOA was there for her when things went awfully wrong on her college campus. Mia's story is one of many personal stories of those who were helped and continue to be helped, thanks to each and every one of you who support our work. And by supporting ZOA, by supporting us, you support college students who are facing hostile anti-Semitic environments all over America. Mia, please join me on stage.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mia Blatchman. As you all know, I'm one of the many college students in this country who have been harassed and discriminated against simply because I'm a proud Jew and a proud Zionist. And just like many other Jewish students, ZOA was there to help and support me. I faced anti-Semitism after I transferred to Emerson College in Boston in the fall of 2023. Before I transferred there, I was living in Hulon, Israel, teaching English to middle school students in Bat Yam. I got to spend time with family and visited them on their kibbutz, which was only 4 kilometers from the Gaza border, and I made many friends, some who survived the Hamas massacre on October 7th, and many who are still fighting to protect the people of Israel. When I transferred to Emerson College, my first month there was a dream come true. I was finally able to act in a play again. I joined multiple news organizations and I made so many friends. I was never shy about my Jewish identity or my connection to Israel, and that wasn't going to start at Emerson. I had experienced anti-Semitism in the past, but I grew up in Aventura, where the majority of people are just like me, Hispanic and Jewish. So I was not prepared for what happened to me on my college campus after the Hamas massacre on October 7th. On that very day, the students living right next door to me in my dorm immediately openly expressed their support for Hamas and its terrorism and called for Israel's destruction. On the whiteboard posted on the outside of their dorm room door, these students had written, "Globalize the Intifada from the river to the sea, free Palestine." Every time I saw the message, I felt fear. Fear that my neighbors at school supported the murder of Jews and the destruction of the Jewish state. Other Jewish students in my dorm were also afraid, and when I reported the harassment, no one helped me. Then I faced discrimination in a student-run play in which I had several roles. On October 17th, 2023, the student directors took one of those roles away from me with no explanation. A few days later, the directors announced that they were adding a rehearsal on Friday. So I requested it end by 6 p.m. so I could attend Shabbat services at Chabad as I did every Friday. They scheduled rehearsal for 6:30 p.m. that night and said that rehearsal was mandatory. I went to rehearsal and I missed Shabbat. Out of the blue, the next day, on the morning of opening night, I received an email informing me that for my own good, for my mental health, because of everything going on in Israel, I was removed from the show entirely. This was anti-Semitism, which I reported to the administration, and again, no one helped me. The anti-Semitism grew stronger after that. If a student tried publishing an article in school in a school publication that referred to Hamas as a terrorist organization, we were banned from doing so. We were labeled racists for calling Hamas a terrorist group. Because other students knew I had lived in Israel, I was verbally assaulted and called a terrorist and many other awful terms. When I reported the verbal assault to the administration, I was the one who was blamed and reprimanded, and I was placed on probation for being verbally assaulted for being Jewish. Despite all the anti-Semitism, I still begged my parents to let me return to Emerson for the spring semester, hoping things would be different, hoping I could fight. Unfortunately, the anti-Semitism not only continued, but it worsened. Most of the people at Emerson who I thought were my friends refused to work with me on projects because I'm a Zionist. I didn't have a scene partner in class because my class thought that Zionism means you hate black people. I was called countless horrifying names online, labeled a KKK member and a terrorist for supporting Israel. And so were my friends and family members who are fighting for Israel's safety and security. In January 2024, I was physically assaulted by my neighbor on my way to class. She pushed me, shoved me, and threatened me. Even this wasn't enough for the school to take action and protect me. The ZOA contacted the president of Emerson College and called on the college to protect my civil rights and provide me with the safe environment I'm legally entitled to. I was moved to safe housing for my own protection, but my harassers who broke the college's rules were never punished, and the school never reprimanded anyone who discriminated against me based on my Jewish identity. With my family's encouragement and support, because the school would not promise me the safe housing for the following year, I transferred to UCF, University of Central Florida, where my life is completely different. Instead of having no Chabad that is affiliated with the school at Emerson, UCF has a Chabad with thousands of students who attend every week. I'm still grieving the lives lost on October 7th, the dreams I lost on October 7th, and the hope I had that diminished on that day. But I'm so honored and so grateful to have had that hope for humanity reignited through the people who have supported me throughout everything I have experienced since that day. Thank you for having me here tonight and for allowing me to share my story. Thank you again to the ZOA. Shout out to Susan Tuckman. Shout out to Allison. And thank you so much to my parents and brothers who inspire me every single day, for supporting and standing up for me when no one else would. I'm Yisrael Chai. Thank you.
Okay. Our superstar lineup continues. Our next guest, he needs no introduction. He is one of the greatest American patriots living on this planet. He has, it's actually a funny story that I met his stepson years ago. And when he asked me who my hero was, I said, it's the constitutional expert, Mark Levin. And you know what David said? That's my stepdad. I said, do not bullshit an Israeli. I said, I'll take out the F-22s in 3.5 seconds. And in 2 seconds, he FaceTimed his stepdad, and it was Mark Levin on the phone. My husband and I freaked out. Anyway, the great one, constitutional expert, a hero, Mr. Mark Levin.
Mia, where's Mia? I can't see Mia. God bless you, Mia. Anybody lays a hand on you, let me know. I'll kick their ass. It's a great honor to be here. I'm not usually here. I'm not usually anywhere. I turn down most events, but I was never going to turn this down. First of all, there's Mort, ZOA. So many wonderful people here. Lauren's a dear family friend. Danny Bassner, fantastic. Rabbi, David said, you got to come down here. You got to see this rabbi. I'm going to do that. Byron, that was beautiful. Thank you very, very much. God bless you, my friend. But I'm here for a man I've admired my whole life, Alan Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz is a patriot in 2 countries, the United States and Israel. He's the constitutional expert. He's the one I look up to. He's the one I bring on radio and TV to make a point that he can make better than I do. I'm going to make a statement, and I believe every word of it. He's the Martin Luther King of the Jewish world. That's what he is. He has spent his entire life selflessly fighting for the United States, for Israel, and our shared Judeo-Christian principles. Particularly in the last decade or so, he's been up against it. He's taken on his friends. He's taken on institutions that used to invite him. He's left his party, for God's sakes. It's about time. As Reagan said, his party left him. But I truly admire this man. Not just because he's smart, and he and I are constitutionalists, but because of his soul. When you watch him argue, when you watch him on my shows or other shows, this isn't a man coming on because he wants to be seen. This isn't a man coming on because he needs popularity. He already has popularity. This is a man who's a true believer, who believes in the principles that make this country great, in the principles that make Israel great. He's close friends with two of the greatest leaders in history, President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The other thing I really appreciate about Alan Dershowitz is when he says something, he means it. He won't say one thing to one person, one thing to another person. He's not a glad-hander. I'm not a glad-hander. He's a good man. He's a good man. And I want to say this to you, Alan. It is a tremendous honor for me to be up here to introduce you to this fantastic award from ZOA. It means a great deal to me to be standing with you. And I want to thank ZOA for everything you do. Mort, wherever you are, the whole team, Florida ZOA, God bless you too. Thank you. They're fantastic people. Allison, so forth, everybody. This lady here makes me look like a monk. She's got energy, man. Where's your husband? I gotta meet him. All right. He's worn out, I bet. One other thing. If it wasn't for my fantastic wife and this unbelievable stepson here, these two think Israel and Judaism every second of the day, I wouldn't be here. So Alan Dershowitz, I want you to come up here, my friend, and get an award that you deserve very, very much.
Our destiny is in our hands. Our priorities now are one and only the Jewish people in Israel. I contribute all of my time and all of my money and all of my resources to the Jewish people and to the state of Israel. And I think that many should follow.
The legal career of Alan Dershowitz spans more than half a century. A constitutional scholar, one of the most respected names in law, his diverse body of work and willingness to tackle controversial cases have cemented his status as a leading legal mind in the U.S., as well as all over the world.
Thank you so much, Mark. You know how much I admire you and how important you are to the United States of America and to Israel. Thank you, Mort. But there never could be a more appropriate time for me to get the Louis Brandeis Award, and the reason for that was obvious in Mia's speech just 7 or 8 minutes ago. Let me explain to you why. The Talmud says that prophecy ended with the destruction of the Second Temple, and only fools or knaves tried to prophesy the future. Well, I'm going to prophesy the future to you. I'm going to tell you that unless things change, we are in deep trouble, because you can prophesy the future of America by looking at its college and university students today and projecting 20 years forward. And we have a problem. We have a problem that we are not confronting. I have been in higher education 70 years. I started in 1955. I was student government president at Brooklyn College in New York. I was a professor at Harvard for 50 years. I taught at Yale, I taught at NYU, I taught at Stanford. I know the universities better probably than anybody in the Zionist movement. And I'm telling you, we are failing. We are failing to confront the fact that today so many students, in an automatic, knee-jerk way, are becoming pro-Palestinian. They don't even know what that means. I have a new book I just wrote called Palestinianism, the newest attack on peace, human rights, and democracy. I'm 86 years old. All I can do is write books. If I were 26, I'd be in Gaza today fighting for Israel's survival, but I can't do that. So I write books and pamphlets. So what does Louis Brandeis have to do with this? Louis Brandeis was the first great American Zionist. He was also one of the first great American, yeah, this is a dirty word coming, the first great American liberals. He was a genuine liberal. In fact, he sometimes called himself a progressive. Now, that has nothing to do with what liberalism has come to mean today, and progressivism has come to mean today. Honest and true liberals did what Brandeis did, supported free speech, supported small government, supported equality, supported lack of discrimination. He was a true liberal. But my message to you today is you cannot give up on future students who regard themselves today as liberals. We must take them on directly. We must explain to them that Zionism is a liberal cause. You don't have to be a conservative to love Levi Zrai or to be a Zionist. You can be a liberal or a conservative. Zionism is all about national liberation. That's something liberals are supposed to support. It's about women's rights. It's about gay rights. It's about small government. It's about workers' rights. It's about due process. It's about all the things that unite genuine conservatives and genuine liberals. We have a problem of extremes on both sides. I have to tell you, the Republicans have done a much better job, but not a perfect job, in marginalizing their extremes. There are extremes within the Republican Party and within the right that are no good for Israel. And we have to do a better job in marginalizing them. But the Democrats have not only done a terrible job, they have welcomed the extremists. They have welcomed the squad. They have welcomed the most anti-Semitic senator in modern history, a Jewish man named Bernie Sanders. They have welcomed Elizabeth Warren. They have welcomed the anti-Semites of the left into the center of the Democratic Party. That's why I quit the Democrats. I could no longer be part of a party that platformed these anti-Semites at the Democratic National Convention. So we cannot allow Zionism to remain a partisan cause in America. Too important. It's a partisan cause in Spain. Depends on who wins the election. It's a partisan cause in Canada. Depends who wins the election. It's a partisan cause in England. It cannot be a partisan cause in America because Israel is too dependent on American support. So those of us who identify as traditional centrist liberals, we have to learn from the conservatives. We have to learn how to make the case for Zionism to our students. We have an obligation to Israel, to Zionism, to America, to decency, to be more effective in arguing that you don't have to be a conservative to support Zionism or support Israel. Yes, conservative values are very much at stake. Conservative values support Israel, a strong Israel, an Israel that fights back, a single standard of justice. These are all things that we stand for and that conservatives stand for. So conservatives should be supportive of Israel, but so should genuine liberals. And that's the fight we're losing. And that's why this statue of Louis Brandeis will sit in my office, and I will make every student and everybody I see understand that here was a liberal Zionist. Here was a man who loved Israel, who loved Zionism, who didn't see any inconsistency between his values. And we have to make sure we don't either. The most important thing that we can do is persuade the future generations that a strong Israel is good for peace. A strong Israel is good for America. A strong Israel is good for the Judeo-Christian values that we stand for. And we can go back to the Psalms of David for the message that Hashem gave us when he said, Hashem oz le'amo yitain. God will give the Jewish people oz strength. Hashem yivarech et amo b'shalom. Only with strength will the Jewish people ever have peace. We learned the lesson. Elie Wiesel taught us that the only way Jews get peace is if we are stronger than all of our enemies combined. And we must remain strong. We must accept the support of the Christian community, the black community, the Hispanic community. We must build alliances. We have no choice. Ein breira. We have to do it. We have to win because, as our speaker said before, the heart of the world is Jewish values, and the heart of the heart is Israel. And I will tell you that I have changed all my priorities. I lived my life based on the second part of Hillel's, Im ein anili mili. I listen to the second part, but if I am for myself alone, what am I? I devoted almost all of my life to defending the rights of African American people, of Latino people, of gay people, of people who not necessarily were Jewish. And Jewish values always support others. We were central to the civil rights movement. We were central to the feminist movement. We were central to the gay movement. I will still maintain my commitment to every one of those values and all the other people, but I will from now on in my life emphasize Im ein anili mili. If we are not for ourselves, who will be for me? And I and my wife have prioritized all of our charitable giving. I have prioritized all of my pro bono cases to the support of Israel and the Jewish people. And I will continue to do that as long as Hashem gives me the strength, continue to fight for justice, because justice for the world includes justice for the Jewish people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dershowitz. I would like to give a shout out to my sisters at Jexit. For those of you who don't know what Jexit is, it's an organization that I'm proud to be a member of. It stands for Jews Exiting the Democrat Party, and we are proud to stand and be coalition partners with the Zionist Organization of America. You guys. And Mr. Levin, my husband, we just flew back from Texas. And I said to him after October 7th, even before that, I said, you're marrying an Israeli. The work never ends. For 19 years, I've been an animal from the time I wake up in the morning to the time I go to bed. And even in Texas, we're at a wedding, and my husband looks at me and he goes, honey, what are you doing? I said, I'm fighting Muhammad right now. I'll be right there. It never ends because we can't shrink ourselves so the world's comfortable. We won't shrink ourselves so the world is comfortable. The state of Israel is such a miracle of a land. And forget about the fact that God gave us a land that's smaller than the size of New Jersey. And guess what? No oil. No oil. And what did the Israelis create from that land? Everything from a computer to a scan disc to ending world hunger with netafim. Imagine taking a hose, and I'm gonna keep it simple, stupid, and putting holes in a hose, and putting it right to the root of the tree so it doesn't waste water, so the tree can grow. From robotics, where a paraplegic can walk, talk, hike, bike, swim by going into an exerciser. The things that the Israelis do are absolutely genius. No oil, no money underneath the ground, leading in the tech industry. I only want them to work on one thing. I want them to hire Mort as the PR person because Israel needs a good PR department. I mean, look at who our enemies are. On October 7th, Muhammad called his mother and said, guess what, Mom, you're going to be so proud of me. I killed 15 Jews today, beheaded 3 and burned 2. While the Jew says, Mom, you're going to be so proud of me. Our soldiers, our IDF soldiers, today I was able to save 15 people. And in Israel, the only country where Arabs, Jews, and Christians serve in the IDF, where gays are not tortured and thrown off of buildings, and when women are not stoned to death. Israel is America's first line of defense. And anybody who stands up for Israel is smart, because jihad now is in America. So if you know how to spend your money wisely, you will spend it helping Israel and the Jewish people, because they right now are saving America. You're not going to understand what I'm saying for a long time. But right now, the model is what the IDF is doing in Israel by annihilating jihad. Because from the time that they are born, from the age of 3, they don't hear, I love you, you love me. There's no Barney, there's no Elmo. You go to school and you learn how to kill a Jew, how to hate a Jew. And that translates into being anti-Semitic is being anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-Judeo-Christian values. There is one person standing between tyranny and the Constitution, and that's Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. 2 people. That's what I have to say. So now back to our regularly scheduled program. I would like to call up another true Zionist, a distinguished businessman, a former IDF soldier, a tremendous friend to the ZOA, and a close personal friend of our final speaker. Him and his wife, Helene, and his entire family are also diamond sponsors of tonight's event. So please give a warm welcome to Louis Stahl.
Thank you. To Ambassador Danone, I want to tell you, from an American Jew, never again is now. And we have to learn that. I think our great president is bringing that to the world. I know Israel has that as its credo, and we support you 1,000%. I'm humbled to be here after all the fantastic speakers before me. My name is Louis Stahl, and I'm here with my wife, Helene. I come by way of Boston, Israel, New York, and then Florida. I'm a wandering Jew, but I think eventually we'll get home to Israel. We are very proud to be very close personal friends of Mort and Rita Klein, a true power couple in the Jewish world. We are admittedly Trump Jews, and we're Trump Jews for Israel. And thank God our president is a president for Israel as well as the United States. I have the distinct honor of introducing the national president of ZOA tonight, Mort Klein. Our gala is filled with true Zionist supporters of Mort and supporters of Israel who are familiar with Mort's personal story. I will just share a bit of it with you. Mort is a child of Holocaust survivors, as am I. I am first-generation American. Mort was born in a displaced persons camp in Germany and came to this country with his parents when he was only 4 years old. Mort grew up understanding the importance of living a Jewish life and a land for the Jewish people, and so has the world. Without Israel, there is no civilization in this world. We are finding that out. After earning his undergraduate and graduate degrees from Temple University, Mort went to work for the federal government. He was a senior health policy analyst for the Nixon, Ford, and Carter administrations. He went on to work with Linus Pauling, the Nobel Prize-winning scientist, and if you have any type of science degree, you know Linus Pauling. I understand we had Mort's wife, Rita, we have to thank for being the strength with and behind Mort and allowing him to devote his talents and energies to standing for Israel. Mort began by exposing anti-Israel lies that riddled a well-known travel guide. At the publisher's request, he actually rewrote the guide. Mort's activism got the attention of ZOA supporters who encouraged him to run for ZOA national president. Baruch Hashem, as they say, thank God. Mort ran and he won. That was more than 30 years ago. Mort became the face of ZOA and its driving force. He brought ZOA back to life, making it one of the most influential and pro-organizations of the U.S. Just a little postscript. Rabbi Abel Hillel Silver was my mother's cousin, so I guess it's a good legacy that I come to introduce him. He established a ZOA campus department, a government relations department in Washington, D.C., and ZOA Center for Law and Justice. For over 30 years, Mort has been advocating tirelessly for Israel and the Jewish people. He's frequently on television and radio, as we always see. He speaks regularly at venues, big and small, across the U.S., and dedicates a lot of his own personal time to having dinner, as well as Rita does, with his supporters and us personally, which we greatly appreciate. He's provided expert testimony at congregational hearings, plainly and having a significant impact. As just one example, shortly after Mort testified about moving the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, then President Trump, and now President Trump, announced the embassy would move to Jerusalem. As many of you well know, Mort is just not tireless, he's also fearless. He is resolute about telling the truth about Israel and its enemies. One example of Mort's advocacy was, under Mort's leadership, ZOA opposed the Oslo Accords and later opposed Israel's withdrawal from Gaza in 2005. Virtually the entire American Jewish communal world embraced Oslo and Gaza withdrawal to our detriment. But Mort and the ZOA understand that both these decisions would lead to more terrorism against Jews and Israeli, and tragically, to October 7th. We can never forget that. As the Wall Street Journal said, when the history of American Jewish struggle in these years is written, Mort will emerge as an outsized figure. Please join me in welcoming our dearest and most respected friend, Mort Klein, to the podium. Where's Mort? Mort, come on. A fierce and courageous, heroic warrior for Israel.
As a child of Holocaust survivors,
Thank you.
I personally felt the horrors of unbridled anti-Semitism. We are trying to educate American Jews in the truth of these issues. I think once Jews understand it, they will be strong supporters.
Morton Klein is here, the national president of the Zionist Organization of America.
Joining us on the line is Morton Klein. He's national president of the Zionist Organization of America, one of the only actual Zionist organizations in America.
Joining us now is Morton Klein, national president of ZOA. Shalom.
Shalom, shalom. It's great to be in the holy Jewish city of Yerushalayim.
You're one of the most effective and important voices that we have on this subject. It's why I love the ZOA. I love what you do. I love your effectiveness.
Wow. Well, thank you, Louis, for that really extraordinary introduction. I've forgotten about half of that stuff. And by the way, most of it was actually true, I want you to know. I don't know what my team did to me. To put me after Danny Danone, Byron Donalds, Mark Levin, and Alan Dershowitz, and Ziggy, this is an impossible situation for me. My God, this is... But I wonder, I guess that's the reason I'm not getting an award. I'm the only one not getting an award tonight. I won an award. Give me something. What an extraordinary evening. I want to thank all of you for being such Israel-loving, Zionist-loving audience.
I want to thank our unbelievable array of mega stars, all of the generous people who have made this evening possible. Our duty, according to our holy Torah, is to fight for truth, for justice, and for righteousness. Whether we succeed, our sages teach us, is up to God Almighty, up to Hashem. Our duty and our role is to fight as hard as we can and hope that God will bless us. But if the people, like all of you in this room, and our honorees, and our supporters, and ZOA, if we continue to fight relentlessly and passionately, I am sure that Hashem will help us and ensure that we succeed in our holy work. May God bless all of you. Since we had so many wonderful talks about Eretz Yisrael, I thought I would really talk about this important issue, not the most important, not the only issue, and that's the issue of the World Zionist Congress, because we need more ZOA delegates to make sure that billions of dollars go in the right places, make sure that the right policies are promoted in Israel, make sure that there's no Palestinian state. So I hope all of you, if not now, then later, will vote to ensure ZOA has a large representation in the World Zionist Congress. The World Zionist Congress is the parliament of the Jewish people. About 1/3 of the delegates are from Israel, about 1/3 from America, about 1/3 from the rest of the world. $1 billion or more money is at stake here. We have 30+ leading organizations that are with us. We want to give us the strength to defend Jews in Israel, Jewish students, fight for Judea and Samaria. For God's sakes, we Jews are allowed to live in Los Angeles, in New York, in Miami. Why can't we live in Judea and Samaria, for God's sakes? After all, we are Judeans. Jew is a contraction of the word Judean. We are Judeans. This is our ancient homeland. This is where we are from. And we have to build up Judea and Samaria, build more communities there, and make life better for Jews to be allowed to live there. If Arabs can live in Judea and Samaria, God knows Jews can as well. We also need the strength to fight for declaring sovereignty over many of these areas, and we need the strength to promote. And we are the only major Jewish organization who has publicly come out and supported Donald Trump's Gaza plan to invite the Gaza Arabs to live a better life, a more fruitful life somewhere else. Detroit might be a place they might consider. No, you have enough already. ZOA is the only organization endorsed by World Likud, by the Speaker of the Knesset, Amir Ohana, the first and only gay Speaker of the Knesset. We have publicly been endorsed by the Academy Award-winning actor and ardent Christian Zionist John Voight has endorsed us. Many Congress members, Mike Huckabee, as you've heard, Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar has praised us for being the only major Jewish organization to publicly oppose the establishment of a Palestinian terrorist state. And we've been opposing that for 31 years, not just this past week. AIPAC on their website supports a so-called two-state solution. I hate that term, two-state solution. Israel's already a state. It's a Palestinian state solution, which of course is no solution. Stop saying two-state solution. It makes it sound like each side is getting something. We're getting nothing but a Palestinian terrorist state. AJ Committee, Ted Deutsch, look, I speak the truth here. Ted Deutsch, 6 months ago, wrote an op-ed saying we need a Palestinian state now. AJ Committee. ADL supports a Palestinian state. There's no Jewish group at ZOA who publicly opposes it. Give us the strength in the World Zionist Organization to ensure that such a state will never come into existence. And I must say, is this? I can't find it. There are no innocent Gaza Arabs. We're talking about a state that will have Gaza civilians, Gaza Arabs, Palestinian Arabs. They are not innocent civilians. 90% of them support right now their own polls, Hamas, Nazis. 93%, their own polls supported 10-7. There are no innocent Gaza civilians. Yedid Achronot and Jerusalem Post have called us among the most influential organizations. Support us. Arab American activist, the most important one, Jim Zogby, he wrote, "The muscular and vocal ZOA has risen like a phoenix, has forced newspapers to change maps, has forced politicians to change their votes. The ZOA's efforts must be combated," said Zogby. "If its campaigns go unanswered, it will win." Ladies and gentlemen, with the help of Almighty God and you all, we will win. We simply tell the whole truth of the Arab-Islamic war against Israel in the West. And as I have often said, truth is not a political position. Truth is not right or wrong. And I'll tell you, more and more people are understanding this. A few weeks ago, when I was in Israel with the leaders of the Conference of Presidents of major American Jewish organizations of America, Michael Oren was asked to speak. He's a liberal guy. He went around saying that the problem is it's two peoples are fighting for the same land, each of which they have a right to. That's Michael Oren. In his speech, he asked for questions. I raised my hand. He said, "Mort, before you ask your question, I want to say to this whole group, Mort, you and ZOA were right about everything." Michael Oren said that only a few weeks ago. And he said, "My views are now closer to yours, Mort, than they've ever been." I said, "Michael, as soon as they become identical to ZOA's views, then you'll finally be completely correct about everything." We are relentless, effective, and courageous. Title VI did not cover Jewish people until a number of years ago. When we launched the campaign, ZOA launched a campaign with Susan Tuckman and myself, and I got 40 congressmen to help us to try and reinterpret Title VI to cover Jews, which it did not. I begged other organizations to help me and join me. The ones I just mentioned, I asked them all to join me, help, let's reinterpret it. Abe Foxman said, "Mort," he's the former head of ADL, "Mort, you do not fight for Israel by suing people. You use diplomacy," says he to me. "Don't be a gunslinger from the East Coast," said Abe Foxman. "You use diplomacy." We fought this campaign for 6 long years alone. And after 6 long years, I am proud to say it is largely, almost entirely, because of the Zionist Organization of America, Title VI has been reinterpreted to cover Jewish students. All of the lawsuits you read about would not have been possible if it wasn't for our campaign. And then I am proud to say and happy to say that our own honoree, Alan Dershowitz, helped speak to President Trump to reaffirm that Title VI covers Jewish students and we must use it. Thank you, Professor Dershowitz. And the Jerusalem Embassy Act, to move the embassy. When I decided to write articles that the embassy should be moved, and I went to speak to a bunch of people, John Kyle of Arizona, a great friend of Israel, finally introduced legislation to move the embassy to Jerusalem, 1995. We were the only significant Jewish group that endorsed that legislation at the time, the only one. Other Jewish organizations said, "Don't do this, Mort. It'll cause terrorism and violence everywhere. It'll destroy any chance for peace. It won't work. Stop it, Mort. You're hurting Israel and the Jewish people." Yes, that's what I was told by one Jewish organization after another. We only got 8 senators out of 100. That's all that would sign it, because everyone was against it. John Kyle went to Robert Dole. Do you remember Robert Dole? Used to be majority leader. He was running for president. Kyle went to him, urged him to get on the bill. Now, Dole was not a great friend of Israel, but Kyle said to him, I was there, he said to him, look, Bob, you're running for president. If you do this, it'll help you get Jewish money. Dole said, yeah? He said, well, I'll do it. He said, if you can get the Jewish senators to get on the bill, then I'll get on it. That's what he said. We had a meeting. No one knows this. Almost no one knows this. We had a meeting with the 10 or 12 Jewish senators. Lautenberg, Levin, Feinstein, Lieberman, Wyden, all of them, asking them to support this bill to move the embassy. Every single one said this will cause violence and terrorism and destroy any chance for Israel having peace with the Arabs. Not one of them would get on the bill. Kyle went back to Dole and said we couldn't get anybody on it. But this is an important moral issue, and it's the right thing. Jerusalem is the capital of the Jewish people in Israel. Jerusalem is never mentioned, he said to Dole, in the Koran. When Jerusalem was controlled by the Arabs, virtually no Arab leader went there. When Jerusalem was controlled by the Arabs, it was a slum with slum housing up against the Western Wall. There was no water, no electricity. There was nothing going on. They don't care about this city, no matter what they say. And Dole said, as a matter of moral righteousness, I will get on the bill. When he got on the bill, suddenly we went from 8 to 35 senators immediately, because he was majority leader. And after that, AIPAC decided to get on the bill. And the Washington Post wrote an article, I have it in my house, which said AIPAC got onto this bill because they were very worried that ZOA may get full credit for this very important bill, so they got on the bill. That was an article in the Washington Post. I'm not making this up. Then, by the way, there was a waiver introduced, a security waiver, that if a president says for security reasons we can't move it, they don't have to move it. We at ZOA fought like hell to stop this security waiver. Nobody helped us, not another organization, because they really didn't want this bill. And do you know who introduced that waiver? Dan Shapiro, chief of staff to Dianne Feinstein, who became ambassador to Israel. He introduced it. That was the waiver. We couldn't get it rescinded. It was part of it. As we all know, for 18 or 20 years, whatever, it was invoked every year to not move the embassy, until finally Donald Trump, who told us at our dinner, who was called by one foreign leader after another, don't move the embassy to Jerusalem. He said, I was called day after day by leader after leader. I finally told my secretary, any leader calls me, I don't want to talk to him for the next week or two. I don't want to talk to him. And then after I announced that I'm moving the embassy, I called, this is Donald Trump speaking to us at our dinner, I called every leader who left a message, and I said, hi, this is Donald Trump. What did you want to talk to me about? It's too late, it doesn't matter anymore. So give us the strength to fight against and these lies are not fought against, not by leadership, Jewish and Israeli, I'm afraid. To fight against the lie of occupation. There's no occupation, it's Jewish land. Against the lie that Jerusalem's holy to Muslims. It's not. The lie of genocide. I love this genocide. At Brown University, when I spoke, an Arab got up, happened to be an Arab. There was a whole group of Arabs who came to hear me speak at Brown. And he said, Mr. Klein, this is years ago. You're not speaking about genocide. You're afraid to talk about the genocide Israel's perpetrating. This is years ago, before 10/7, before this whole nightmare. And I said, I'm glad you asked me that question. You know, I said in 1948, there were about 150,000 Palestinian Arabs in this area of Israel. Today, there are over 2 million Palestinian Arabs. Whoever is in charge of Israel's genocide program has to be fired immediately. It's not working. Do you know the next day Hillel had invited me to speak. The next day the Hillel guy called me to tell me there was an article in the paper about my speech, and it said the students said Morton Klein expressed chagrin that the genocide program wasn't working. But because I didn't go to Brown, I didn't know what the hell chagrin meant. So it didn't bother me. I didn't know what they were talking about. So, no, the insane lie of apartheid, for God's sakes. I mean, there's 10% of the Knesset are Arabs. There was a member of the Supreme Court that's an Arab. You didn't have that in apartheid, in the real apartheid, South Africa. And to promote the truth of incitement. They are promoting from little children on to hate Jews, harm Jews, and kill Jews. This is a nightmare, and we have to make that more and more clear. Give us the strength to fight against something that isn't really talked about that much. Islamic anti-Semitism. Islamic anti-Semitism. Do you know, in recent polls, 2024, of the Muslim countries, 75 to 95% of the Muslims in Muslim countries are anti-Semitic. 75 to 95%. This is published data. Actually, ADL did this data. And the Muslims in non-Muslim countries, from 43 to 62% of Muslims in non-Muslim countries are anti-Semitic. This is a real problem. This is a dangerous problem. We have to speak about it and make it clear that we are going to be fighting Islamic anti-Semitism. It's not Islamophobic to fight against the truth of Islamic anti-Semitism and try and do something about it. This is something that ZOA is committed to doing. Please give us the strength to make this a more serious battle, and urge other organizations to fight the scourge and growing scourge of Islamic anti-Semitism. And of course, we'll continue our fight on campuses. What Trump did, taking monies away from Columbia, and I think Johns Hopkins as well, is long overdue. Kids on, yes. As Mia just stated in her very important speech, Jews on campus, and we are called by students all the time to help them. They're called baby killers. They're called terrorists. They're called Nazis. They're blocked from going to class. The classes are stopped. Jews are stopped from going in the buildings. They come into class beating drums, handing out anti-Semitic pamphlets. Classes are canceled. It's a nightmare. And they keep screaming for the globalization of the Intifada. This is one of the main themes at these rallies. We must globalize the Intifada. In other words, we have to, the Intifada is to promote terrorism and murder of Jews. They're promoting on these campuses that Jews around the world should be killed. They're saying this on campus. They're saying this on campus. And we got the president saying it depends on the context. This is outrageous. This is frightening. This is dangerous. And it's happening to Jews. If this was statements being made against blacks or Muslims or gays or women, we wouldn't and we shouldn't ever tolerate that. We would never tolerate it. But when it comes to Jews, we ignore it. We ignore it and say, it's free speech. They have a point. It's free speech. We have to fight this. If these students promoting Hamas is promoting murdering Jews, promoting Nazis, if they call for globalized intifada, if they're foreign students, we must deport these foreign students. And if they're American citizen students, we must expel, 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 arrest, arrest, arrest. My brother's a professor at Washington University at the med school. He tells me the first day encampments at Washington U in St. Louis were put up, they immediately called the police in and started arresting students. The first day. They've had no problem ever since because they acted immediately. They acted immediately to stop this insanity. And Columbia wrote a week or so a letter to all the Columbia students, faculty, and whatnot. In the letter, they talked about, we're going to take serious action. We must address this. We must do better. We need a reset. We must strengthen disciplinary process. We must swiftly respond. We need new policies. All generalities. They said nothing specific. I want to hear we're going to arrest them. We're going to throw them out. We're going to put them in jail. They're not going to be on this campus. That's what I want to hear, not this general nonsense. A number of years ago, as a delegate to the World Zionist Congress, which I'm urging you again to make sure you vote for number 15 ZOA. I proposed several resolutions. One I proposed, there were several Jewish movements that promote, you don't have to believe in God. Look, people, you can live, and everyone can live and believe as they wish. But they were asking for money from the World Zionist Congress to fund these movements that do not promote belief in God. I proposed a resolution that simply said we should only fund Jewish movements that promote a belief in God. Very simple. That's all I said. And there was murmuring all over the place, and people were not happy. And Abe Gaffney, who was the moderator, Judge Gaffney, said, more people are not happy. Do you want to withdraw this? I said, no, I don't want to withdraw this. I'm saying let's fund any Jewish movement. I'm not saying only Orthodox, any. As long as they promote belief in God, there should be some sort of fundamental minimum. We had the vote. The vote failed. It failed. Chaim Potak, the famous author, came over to me afterwards. He said, Mort, you're the only person I know who could get a World Zionist Congress to vote against God. Let me tell you something more controversial. I'll get to the end with this. I propose another resolution. I'm very worried. I don't mean to offend anyone. However one lives their lives, may they live well and be healthy. I'm very worried that we are losing the number of Jews we have in America due to intermarriage. I hope anyone who marries that the person converts, and if the person wants to intermarry, it's their business and they should live a good and decent life. But I'm worried about the survival of the Jewish people. So I proposed a resolution, and you should know, if you exclude the Orthodox Jews, and people will not talk about this, the rest of the Jews, two studies at Brandeis University, 75 and 80% intermarry. 75 and 80, not 50, 75 and 80 if you exclude the Orthodox Jews. So I proposed a resolution that simply said organizations should do what they can to promote Jews marrying Jews. That's it, to promote Jews marrying Jews. I didn't condemn any other way of life. I just said to promote it because we're losing our people. I'll tell you, there was just a new poll came out last week that said of all the people Jews who grew up as Jews, 1/4 of them do not identify as Jews anymore. 1/4, last week's poll, Pew. We're losing our people. So I proposed a resolution that, like I said, simply said, Jewish organizations should promote Jews marrying Jews. Very simple. There was an uproar like you wouldn't believe. People yelling and screaming, people saying, don't take that, rescind that. Abe Gaffney again asked me, do I want to rescind this resolution? I said no, but let's take a break. During the break, I'm surrounded by people, names you would know, begging me to rescind a resolution that simply says we should promote Jews marrying Jews. I don't know, is that such a terrible thing to have done? Is that so controversial? And we had a vote. And the vote lost. The vote lost. This is a serious problem because the fact that we're having a reduction in Jews, and we know it because conservative synagogues are closing all around the country. They're merging all around the country with other conservative synagogues. Reform synagogues are now closing and merging. We're losing our people. And there's more and more people who have come to this country who are hostile to Israel. If we keep seeing a diminution of the number of Jews in this country, it will be a reduction in support for Israel in Congress and around the country. So this is, to me, a very serious issue. And I hope you understand, I'm not saying this to cause pain or discomfort to anyone, but it's something I think we have to face because it's an issue that's hurting our people. Well, thank you. But we will have miracles that are going to happen, that are going to save all of us, the Jews, Israel, and the rest of the world. We've seen miracles only recently. When Donald Trump turned his head and was not assassinated, that was a miracle. Had he not turned his head, he would be dead. Iran launched 200 missiles against Israel. Not a single Jew was killed. It's a miracle, 200 missiles. After October 7th, Hezbollah and Iran did not respond and join on October 8th. To me, it's a miracle. Why didn't they respond when Israel was in deep trouble? We've had 35,000 missiles since 2007 from Hamas and from Hezbollah. Very few Jews have been killed by those missiles. There have been some, but very few. It really is a miracle. The pagers, tell me that's not a miracle. It's unbelievable what they do with the pagers. And how about the buses and the trains, where Jew haters put bombs on buses and trains, set the timer for 8:30 a.m. the following morning. By mistake, he set it to 8:30 p.m., so the bombs went off when there was no one there. There would have been a catastrophe had it gone off 8:30 a.m. during rush hour. That was an absolute miracle. We see miracles every day. We should appreciate that, recognize it, that there is a God in this world, and God is working to protect us, but we have to fight for ourselves and help him as well. But these things are happening. We Jews did not come to Israel as colonialists. We came neither like the British imperialists, nor like the French colonizers in Algeria, nor like the English and Dutch settlers in South Africa. We didn't come like immigrants seeking a new continent, a new homeland. We came back home as the inhabitants of a country who have been driven away by force. You Arabs compelled us to use force. We didn't drive you out. You ran away at the instigation of your leaders and through your own lack of real roots in Israel, which is not your home. Had the Arab leaders, your own brothers, allowed you to settle in their countries, your true home, the problem of your refugees would have been settled long ago, just as the problem of Jewish refugees has been settled. We did not let our Jewish brethren vegetate in refugee camps. And in every generation, as the Passover Haggadah foresees, enemies will rise up against the Jewish people. But each time we will overcome our enemies and prevail. We have always emerged to rebuild and become stronger than before. In future years will be a time of regeneration, hope, new opportunities, and stronger Jewish communities. The Torah promises that Israel is the Jewish homeland and will always be the Jewish homeland. The Torah promises the Jewish people will be an eternal people. And unlike politicians, God keeps his promises. The Midrash on Esther, chapter 4, verse 14 says, if you keep silent now, if you refrain from protesting on behalf of your brethren, then woe to you in the day of judgment, for you had the opportunity to act, but did not. If, as Ezekiel said, my last sentence, if the watchman sees the sword advancing against the Jews and does not blow his horn, so that the Jewish people are not warned, and the sword comes and destroys even one Jew, I, says God, will demand a reckoning. Let me assure you, together with Israel, ZOA will blow and blow and blow its horn for the Jewish people in Israel, relentlessly, continuously, tirelessly, courageously, and the Jewish people and Eretz Yisrael will prevail for all time. Thank you so very, very much. We already did it. We already did it. All right, we have our Director of Research, Liz Burney, wants to just say a minute of your time about voting in the World Zionist Congress, since we have you all here.
Okay. Hi, everybody. If you haven't voted yet, please take out your phones, okay? And I wanted to mention something that's really important. About 15,000 people have registered to vote, but then didn't finish the whole voting process. When you after you register, and you can use these little cards or just go to zionistelection.org to sign on to vote. You register, you pay your $5, but then you're going to get a voting PIN code. And the voting PIN code you're going to have to use to go back on to vote. And a lot of people have not been doing that. It's really important that you make sure to do that. We have the full step-by-step instructions on our flyers, which are outside. And please go to any of us if you need help. Thank you.